Hello, ladies. This is Jill McCarthy coming from the Awakening Summit. And today my topic is on trusting your voice. If any of you have been following me for very long, you've heard me talk about reclaiming my voice. You've heard me talking that in kindergarten they was my report card was labeled shy. And I've struggled emotionally, physically and emotionally and metaphorically to claim my voice and to heal my throat. For many years, I was an elementary teacher, and that led to a lot of laryngitis, and it also led to a lot of strep throat, a lot of sore throats, a lot of swelling glands, ear trouble, and you name it. So it's taken me a long time since I've retired to regain my voice, and I still work on it from day to day, trying to strengthen it and to speak up clearly. And if you want to check that talk out, I'm sure you can find it on an earlier podcast. But today I want to talk about trusting your voice. And that might seem like a little strange topic, but what does trusting anything mean? It means that you can rely on it, that you can count on it, that it's verifiable, that you're what you're saying. You've done some research, you've done some thinking, and that you know that it's trustworthy, that you can stand behind it. And I think as many of my the people that have listened to me over the years, if you've been a people pleaser, perhaps when you had to speak and you couldn't get around it, you softened your words. You didn't say the whole truth and nothing but the truth. You left out details that you thought might get you in trouble or that somebody might holler back at you. That's not trusting your voice. And I know it doesn't feel very good if you kind of murk around what you're really trying to say. That you lose your clarity and you also lose the strength in your voice, the power in your voice. And then people either don't hear you or don't take you very seriously. And that's really sad. And that makes my heart hurt just thinking about it. Trusting your voice means that you also trust you. You trust the time and work and energy that you've put in different subjects over the years. You trust that in your faith. You trust that what you say is going to be accurate. If you're a person that generally tells the truth, and people expect you to tell the truth, they come to trust that you're telling them the truth every time. Now, it's still up to you what comes out of your mouth, but you kind of build a reputation with the people you're around. If you say, I'm going to be here at 10 o'clock, you show up at 10 o'clock. Now, life does happen, and sometimes there's technical issues, but you follow through on what you tell other people. If you are a speaker in front of audiences or podcast people, listeners, then they come to expect certain kinds of words out of you. And if they're returning many, many weeks in a row, many seminar to seminar to seminar, they say, hey, I recognize that name. I've heard that person speak before, and their words really touched my heart. I want to listen to them again. Other people begin to trust your voice. And it's sort of sad to say, but sometimes other people trust our voice more than we trust our own. And that trusting your own voice is where we really want to work our our focus, because when you can fully trust your voice and you're fully grounded and standing up in your power and your strength, relying on your source, your God, then those words come out with a greater conviction. And that conviction can cause transformation and change lives. You don't have to get up on a podium and go all wacky and pound the podium and prance around the stage. If you like to talk like that, that's fine, but that really doesn't always convince audiences because they can tell whether it you sound like you know what you're talking about or are you just feeding them a line. And I've watched when words have been spoken, even very gently, and the energy came through and the power came through, and that's when lives were touched. Sometimes you listen to somebody and you listen and you listen and you just can't wrap your head around what they're saying. I've had that happen, but you got to find confidence at the deepest level in yourself. Do you want to know how I found confidence? Having one of the worst years in school that I ever had as a teacher. And I just felt like I was in over my head. I was in a different grade than when I normally taught. And I just really did not have the skill set at that early point in my career to know how to deal with the particular students that I had. Well, come to find out, they needed more intervention than I had, but that's beside the point. And that year, when I took them out to the bus the very last day, I came back into school and I literally ran down the hall, jumping up every 12 feet to touch the next ceiling light in the hallway, so far till I laughed and practically fell down because I knew good, bad, and different. I made it through that year. Those students made it through that year. And yeah, maybe that might not have been my best year, but I did my best at the time and I knew it. And I knew after that point that my level of what I could handle had gone up tremendously. I knew that I could handle it. When I was in the middle, I didn't know that. But when I got done, that kind of gave me a new strength in my spine to stand a little straighter. And it gave me, when I said my words, I didn't have to say them so haughtily and so hesitantly. I could stand up a little stronger. When I used to be a teacher, we would have team meetings. We only had about 4 teachers most of the time on our team. So we had a team leader and 3 other people, and we would discuss, what was coming up for the next week or anything from the administrator or anything we wanted to do as a team. And at first, I would sit back and I wouldn't say anything, and I would be just listening there and dutifully writing notes and not speaking up. But after I had gone through that really tough year, I had a little more confidence in myself. I had a little more confidence to speak up. Finally got brave enough I could share something that I had been working on. I could speak up when I didn't agree with what they were presenting. I could speak up, and the more I did that, the more I began to trust that I really was capable. And you know what? Maybe I even had a really good idea. How many of you out there doubt yourself from time to time? Okay, sometimes it matters on the group or audience listening to you. If it's you and your best friend, well, she might call you out if you're just kind of pulling her leg a little bit. But in your family circle, in your close group of work colleagues, you get a sense of more comfortableness speaking up in front of them. Well, they say one of the greatest fear is the fear is public speaking, and many people get very terrified of that. But once you make it through that really horrendous speech, that half of the audience got up and left to go to the restroom during it, you say, okay, how can I do it differently next time? Chances are you had a really good speech in front of you or in your head or your heart, wherever you're coming from. But you have to believe it. You have to say it like you mean it. And when you do, that boldness comes through, that strength comes through, and your words are penetrating. I happen to come from a faith background, and one of the things that the people in the faith groups I've been at have done is they have give you a survey to help you figure out what your gifts and your talents are. Well, it turns out to be that my strongest talent is the gift of exhortation. And that might be a word you haven't heard very much. Let me say it again. Exhortation. And what that means is that you can communication empathetically and urging someone to do something. There's an urgency in what you're saying. There's a deep, you're compelled to say, it's like you've got a really important message and you're really being compelled to say it. I'm not everybody has exactly the same gifts. So if that doesn't sound like you, just bear with me a minute, because each one of us have different gifts. But when you're compelled to speak, you know you've got a message, you know there's an audience or a person that needs to hear what you say, and you say it in such a way that they can't wiggle out of it. They know that message was for them, and that message was meant for their good and for helping them to grow stronger and to just to move forward in whatever situation they were. And it's when you have that gift, you can't not talk. If you try not talking, that's like when Jonah went in the belly of the whale. That's not a good place to be. But it's like your heart just aches for somebody or for a certain reason, for a certain group of people, and you have a passion to help them. You have a compassion to talk to them. You want the very best for them, and you've offered your mouthpiece to speak to them. And when you have done it before, like I said, mine has been I call it a gift of faith, and I speak up and say what the message that's been delivered to my heart. And when I do that, I've done it enough years that I know what it sounds like or feels like when I get an urge to say something. And when I do, it comes out. I don't doubt it. I don't question it. I also find out I can't really check the intuition on it till after it comes out of my mouth. But I have learned that it does work. If you have ever been in an abusive situation, or if somebody was gaslighting you, you come to a point where you either don't dare to speak up or you're not sure what you know, because the gaslighting kind of mixes you up in your head, and you kind of think the gaslighter is telling you, you know, you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about, but actually it's them that's messing around with things. You lose your trust in your voice. If you've been in an abusive situation, whether as a child or as an adult, you you don't dare put your words out there because you think the situation, as bad as it is, will get even worse if you speak up. And again, you lose that trust in yourself. You lose your trust in your ability to speak up, and that disempowers you. Well, my job is to empower you or re empower you, remind you that you do have a voice. If you're struggling with that, reach out to somebody, reach out to me. There's ways we can help you to feel stronger in your own voice and in your own convictions. And but once I had the voice, I had to be willing to speak up boldly and to really give what my opinion was. And if you're a very quiet or introverted person, you may choose not to talk very much. But you know, I know that brain is a working in there, and you've got lots of ideas that have been circling in that head of yours for many years. And you've got some really good insight. And it's time that you start speaking up and trusting that not only do you have a voice and is it okay to speak up, but the world needs the messages that have been growing inside of your head and your heart for years. And you can help others to lend a hand to help pull them out from abusive situations, to help pull them out of those gaslighting situations, to help them have the courage to speak up. Even introverted people, they're great speaking one-on-one with somebody. If you've ever been in a one-on-one conversation with an introvert, they have no problem speaking. They really don't. They have magnificent ideas. And they've been at it for a long time, and they've worked out the details in their little ideas they're rolling around in there. And they can be a wonderful friend. They're loyal. Their connections go deep, deep, deep. If you're an AHP, you're one of those deep, deep, deep people. But you also have to allow some of that deep out into the world because you have so much information in there. And right now, I want to compel you to release that information out into the world. You've got a lot to share. And you not only need to share it, but you gotta start sharing it with that conviction behind it. That's where the strength is. That's where it moves lives. With the I believe it was the Pope said that it would be the older women in the USA that would help lead the world back to it, its proper standing. We have a lot of wisdom in the elderly women in our group, and elderly can be anything from 45 up. I don't care what age you are. If you've got wisdom, sometimes a child will lead them, and sometimes I've even seen videos of very young children with compelling words to share. Whatever your message is, it's okay to share it. If you can only share it with one person, share it with one person. I heard somebody telling about one of the music people, Ed Sheeran, and when he started playing, he only played in front of cats, literal cats, and they were his audience that he practiced and practiced and practiced in front of. Okay, that sounds silly. I don't think it sounds so silly when he collects a check nowadays for singing. Okay, you got to start somewhere. If you only start talking with a hairbrush in front of your mirror at home, that's okay. But start practicing. You know, you don't have to have a perfectly written out speech. To be honest, it's kind of hard to read a written speech and get the oomph behind it. You can do it, but it takes a little different tactic. If it's coming from your heart, it's flowing, it's coming because it's a message you have to bring, and it comes out smoother. Doesn't mean you never stop for a second to think of a word. Sometimes you have to, but you'll get it, or you'll get enough of it out that the message will come through. And if when you get done you say, "Oh, I forgot to tell about this part," or "I should have used that example," Don't worry about it. If you didn't remember it when you were up there, then maybe this crowd didn't need it. Save that for the next time you give the speech, and maybe the person that needs it will be there then. You gotta trust that you have, to like I said, I'm a person of faith, and I would be praying and waiting to receive the words for the message for that particular audience. You can also trust that the right audience is going to be there for your message and that they'll come prepared. That was one thing when I would do retreats. I would pray that their hearts would be tilled, like tilling the soil, and softened so that when I planted seeds, they would fall on good soil and that they would grow. And that's what you want to think about your audience. In your mind, envision them sitting there and listening, and they might just drop down their pen and their notepad and just give you your undivided attention. How about that? Wouldn't that be a super audience to have? Okay, maybe not everybody's going to be right there with you 100% of the time. But even if just one person is there and they're ready for your message and they're ripe for your message, then the more you can say it being compelled to believing in yourself, believing in the words that you have to say, believing in the passion, using the power, the source power to come out to that other person, and you're trusting that it will land on good ears. Okay, maybe not everybody in the audience is perfectly timed ready, but somebody is. You need to believe. And if they're not in this audience, maybe the next one, or maybe the audience after that. But if you're being compelled to say something, you stay on it until you get the right words, until you get the right people. And as you keep doing it, you'll keep growing and you'll keep learning and you'll refine your message and you'll refine your speaking techniques, and it'll come out smoother the more practice you get. And then as you be around other speakers, you'll pick up some ideas from them, some techniques, maybe just a little thing in how to talk into the microphone. Those things all come with time. Don't have to expect to be uh get a worldwide award your first time on stage. Even if you only have two people in your audience, practice with them. The others will come. You have to believe in what you've received. Believe in what the message you've been given. Believe in it. It's been come into your heart and your mind for some reason. I don't know your reason. I don't know your purpose. I may not even know you, but you do. You know what it likes to kind of sit there cowering in the corner and not speaking up at your in-laws' house. You know what it's like to be in a workplace and you don't really want to be there, and you have an idea but you don't not sure if anybody else will think it's very smart, so you just sit there quietly and somebody else speaks up with it and someone else gets the credit for it and the raise for it. Well, don't give your strength away. Not in that sense. Don't let, because if you don't speak up with your message, sooner or later somebody else will be speaking up with similar to your message. But your message is designed specifically for the people you were meant to help. Maybe you have just the right accent. Maybe you have just the right timing. Maybe you come along at just the right time. I don't know what's the magic combination there, but you are here on purpose to give your message, and it's worth trusting. And once you get that message out and it comes out with even half of your power behind it, and you start to say, oh, maybe this is okay. Okay, maybe a few more people are liking your post, or maybe a whole bunch of them are out to get you. That might mean that you really stepped on the hornet's nest. Doesn't mean run away. It might mean you've got a big challenge ahead of you and you need to keep running and you need to keep speaking. Some will like you and some won't. That's just the way it is. But the ones that need you, the ones that need your message, they're waiting for it. They've been waiting a long time for it. And you've been given the gift, the responsibility to deliver that message because like I said, I'm a person of faith and I believe that God equips us and that he gives and he helps us through. He has a purpose for us and I want to do that purpose. And my purpose is speaking to women. I've seen this as an issue that women deal with reclaiming their voice. Too many years and decades, women weren't allowed to speak up. If it was a joint company, only the men were allowed to speak up. Only the men were allowed to have hopes and dreams. And the women didn't have that chance. Well, now we do. So let's step up and take that chance. And that's my word for you. Do you have a message on your heart? Are you able to get those words out of your mouth? If you can't, then practice. Keep practicing every day for a week in front of the mirror. I don't like doing it in front of a mirror either. So do it in front of your screen. I don't care. As long as you start practicing it and letting your tongue and your lips and your teeth get used to making those sounds. And the more you do it, I did 89 Facebook's lives before I started my first podcast. Now I'm up to almost 40 podcasts and I'm up to maybe about 8 webinars. Okay, so I'll keep doing webinars. I'll keep doing podcasts. I'm not sure about Facebook Lives, but hey, I this morning I practiced live streaming into Facebook. So you keep learning and you keep growing. And as you keep doing that, opportunities will come to you and they'll start opening up. And you can start reaching out for these opportunities. And these opportunities will take you to greater and greater places. Yes, they're going to bring greater and greater challenges, but you trusted it on a small level. Give it a little chance to get used to it at the next level. Yeah, you might have to learn a little new technology. You'll live through it or find somebody that can help you. That isn't necessarily easy, but it is possible. And it not only that is we have to believe in ourselves. I believe in you. I had a lot of mentors in my life. They believed in me long before I could. So I want to pay that forward. I believe in you and I want to believe in you until you can believe in you. And women need other women. So reach out to a group of women, a group of one if you have to. There's hundreds of groups online. Reach out to my group. Take time to get comfortable there. Take time to meet one or two people. Send them a little message and say, "Hey, I want to be part of the group. I need a new friend. Would you be interested?" And if they say no, that's okay. Just try somebody else. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. You need to believe in you. You need to trust your voice. You need to start taking on wearing that power, that strength in your words and get them out there so they can do their job in the world. And I'm going to thank you for that and sign off and say bye-bye for now.